Everyone, I am so happy to be here today and to present Lisa Tenner. She is an award-winning book coach and merges a love of writing and business by helping entrepreneurs, health professionals, therapists, coaches, and others write and publish exceptional books. Many of her authors have signed 5- and 6-figure book deals. That's wow. With top New York City publishers as well as won prestigious national awards. Lisa serves on the faculty of Harvard Medical School's publishing course for the past decade. She is a 5-time Stevie Award winner. I didn't know that, Lisa. I knew about 2 of them. 5-time winner, including Coach Mentor of the Year from 2014 from the Business Awards and the Company of the Year and Small Business 2016 from the International Business Awards. Lisa is a graduate of MIT Sloan School of Management. Welcome, Lisa. I am thoroughly impressed by your credentials. I've learned things about you today.
That you didn't know when we met at the San Francisco Writers Conference.
Exactly. I mean, I knew that you were a prestigious book coach, but I didn't know all these other things about you. So I am so honored to have you here today.
I'm thrilled to be here.
So why don't we just get right at it? And we're going to be talking about writing in the zone. And I know that I've watched the Olympics numerous times, and you can see images of people, hiding with their headgear and trying to get in the zone before they do a high dive jump or something. And so tell me, how does it feel to be in the zone? And how do you know that you're there or that it's happening?
So, it's probably going to be a little different for everybody, but I would say generally the writing flows and you feel this heightened sense of being like you could be there forever. It just feels like you're in that state of flow. And I think when you look back on that writing, it often is better. It's inspired, and you really feel like you captured something. So there's both the quality of the writing and just this feeling when you're doing it that you could do it forever. It's just flowing. Yeah. And you
so,
feel connected, I think.
There have been times, especially in my fiction writing, which I've never published, but when I have felt that I am in a zone, but it's arbitrary. I slip into it, but I'm not purposefully getting into it. So what are your steps to helping authors get into the zone?
Yeah, and I think your experience is typical that we're not sure exactly how to get there, but once we're there, we're there. And so these 5 steps are really for being more mindful of let's get in that zone each time. And I call them steps, but really they're more like elements because you don't have to do them necessarily in this order. And you could even have 3 steps, but they incorporate all these elements. And so the first is, and I came up with an acronym. The first of which is like the most forced, I'd say, of all of them, but write, W-R-I-T-E. So the first one, is kind of to wipe your mind clear, and I'm not crazy about that first step. I used to call it enter the gate, and I kind of like that more because it really is such a more evocative. But we're really entering this, we're being mindful that we're entering this sacred space, right? We're creating sacred space, and that's the external space, like the desk where we're writing, or maybe we go out in nature to a place that feels sacred, and that's also the internal space. So we want to quiet the mind, whether it's writing the list down of things we have to do and putting it aside, or meditating or taking a walk beforehand, whatever gets us clear. So we're clearing the mind, and then we're clearing our physical space as well.
I like that you call it a sacred space.
Yeah, it is. I think one of the things that creative part of us loves is speaking playfully and a little bit magically, where we recognize that there's something about this state that's different from our everyday. I'm not doing the dishes. I'm in this special. I mean, it'd be great if we're doing the dishes in the zone too, but I don't do my dishes in the zone. Some people probably do. I know Thich Nhat Hanh does. He's written about it. But in general, we're not necessarily always in like that special state of flow. And I think by telling ourselves, okay, now is that special sacred time where we write, that first step is so powerful. So that's
Right.
step one. The
Okay.
second step is, so R, read your intention and goals aloud. So in my book writing classes, I always have people write a vision statement. And it's really about how they want their book to affect themselves and their life and their readers and their lives and the world and the community. You know, what change is the book going to make? Even if it's just to entertain people, that's significant too, I think. I like to be entertained. I like to laugh. Um, so, but to be clear, like, what is my intention? What's my vision for what this book will do? And then there's also the intention for the day, and it's nice to be clear about that. You don't always have to, right? Sometimes it's about, let's see where the muse wants me to go. But I think it's often helpful to have, you know, I'm going to finish chapter 5, or I'm going to help readers understand why it's so important to clear a space before they write. So that might be your intention for the day. But to read that aloud is really powerful, and it tells your whole being, okay, this is where we're going. So that's helpful, to not just be sort of this blank slate of, oh, let's see what comes up. I find it's helpful. And then I, so W-R-I-T-E, is, oh my gosh, what is it? Read your intention and goals, and invite your muse. How could I forget that? So it's just being clear, again, like you're connecting with that part of you that sort of has a deeper knowing and your creative source. And you don't have to refer to it as the muse, but whatever you would call that. And again, that's an easy step to just say, let me fold that into another step. It doesn't have to be its own step. You just want to be conscious that you really are connecting with your creative source. And, again, that walk can be a wonderful way to start to do that. Or you may have a way that you close your eyes and picture that muse. However you do it, there's a million different ways, well, probably infinite different ways that people can do that. And then T, the fourth step, is tune in and write. So that's really, you're just writing. That's, if you've done the other steps, that should just flow. And then the last step is really, in some ways, maybe the most important, is enjoy the gratitude. And that step, I have it at the end because it's so nice to take that time and really feel grateful for this writing time. And whether you wrote the number of pages you wanted to or not, whether you just sat there and sort of thought about your characters or thought about your readers, any of that's okay. And if you feel gratitude, rather than beat yourself up that it wasn't enough pages or you didn't actually write, you just thought, if you feel gratitude, you set yourself up for the next time, and you're feeding that relationship with your muse. In any relationship, if we're critical, it doesn't feed the relationship. If we're grateful, it does. So at some point in your practice, feeling that gratitude, and I love to do it at the end to set yourself up for next time, but I also have had clients say they like to do it at the beginning. So it's really whatever works best for you.
So how do people typically envision their muse?
It really varies. So I've had people see their muse as an animal, anything from, an eagle to a mouse to a dragon. I've had people see it as a wise being. Sometimes it's been a person from their life who passed away or who's still alive. One woman, she was writing about a fisherman who was lost at sea, and her muse was the ocean. So sometimes the muse is specific to the book, right? That's probably not going to be her muse every time, I would guess. I've had one woman, her muse was a court jester. Sometimes for people, it's more kinesthetic, so they just feel a connection to their muse. And sometimes it's more auditory, and sometimes you just hear that normal voice in your head. It's not like some special angelic voice, and so it's easy to think, well, am I making this up? Is this really my muse? And I tell people, just let go of that and just see how it feels, and go with it and see if it feels right. So don't overthink it.
I'll have to try that and see what my muse feels like, what it looks like. So once people get in the zone, how do they stay there?
So most of the time when you start writing, it flows and you stay there. I don't tend to see that as an issue for most people um, because of the nature of being in the zone, I think. But if it stops, I think that really is an indication that it's time to take a break. And, I would say take a break and move your body. Because if we're just stagnant, that's the way that things can stop flowing if we're not moving. So do some jumping jacks or dance, do a little dance or go for a walk out, step outside, do some qigong, whatever gets you moving a little bit. And you could think about your book or you don't have to, and then come, or whatever you're writing, and then come back and see what you get after that. It might start to flow again.
Yeah, doing some qigong would be a good idea.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. So, so we've been talking about getting in the zone and getting to know your muse. And I know that you have an exercise, and it might be kind of fun for people to do that visualization right now. I mean, I've never done that on a webinar, but why not?
I know I wasn't sure. Should we try this? Sure. Let's do it.
Sure.
It's fun. So people can close their eyes if they want. I think it does usually help to connect. And I might even close my eyes for a little bit because sometimes it helps me to sort of connect with all of you as you're doing the exercise. But feel your feet on the floor if you're sitting and allow your spine to gently straighten. No forcing, but just comfortably straight. And breathing in, you can start to feel that expansion in your chest as you breathe in, maybe your belly too. And breathing out, just sort of relaxing into the moment, into your chair, feeling that support of the chair. Breathing in, and you may imagine a sense of light filling your being as you breathe in. And breathing out, if you're feeling any resistance, any doubts, that's a good time to just sort of let go and imagine it just coming down through your body, down your legs, feet, and into the earth where it gets composted, right? Just let the earth take those concerns and feeling that energy come back up to support you, that energy from the earth that's been composted now, fresh earth. And breathing in again, and now imagine you're on a path in a meadow. You're going to meet your muse in the woods. And as I lead you from meadow to woods, if you find yourself at the beach, that's fine. Don't worry so much about the details. Just go with what you're getting, not necessarily what I'm saying. So you may want to think about a particular question while we're here in the meadow that you have for your muse. Is it a title? Is it, you and I, Francis, were talking about a wonderful title you have, and you're still kind of exploring what the book is. That might be a great question for your muse. What do you want me to know about this book? Sometimes keeping it very open-ended can be a wonderful way to receive whatever you're ready for in that moment and what your muse is ready to give you. So it may be, what do you want me to know about this book? It may be a specific challenge you're having in the writing, and that's fine too. Or what's the best time of day for me to write? So just find your question. And as you find your question, you may also notice what you notice in in this meadow, what you see or hear or feel or smell or sense. What do you notice in this meadow? And now, as you get closer to the woods and enter the woods, you may notice a change in temperature, a change in the quality of light. Notice what you notice as you enter the woods. And you'll come to a clearing in the woods, and maybe some kind of structure, maybe a little building where your muse is waiting. So go there now. Maybe there's some stairs to climb and a door to open. But you know what to do. Go ahead and enter that building however you feel moved. And then your muse may be right there or in another room, but you know exactly where to go. And just notice your surroundings. Notice your muse. Your muse may be something you just sort of sense that you're connecting with, or you may actually envision or imagine something more symbolic. Could be a person or a being or an animal. It can also be just something as simple as light or color. It's whatever you get is fine. It may not be what you expected, and that's okay too. That's happened to me. So thank your muse. Thank your muse for this time, for showing up, and for your creative projects that you might be working on right now. And ask your question of your muse. It might be specific, which is wonderful. Or it may just be, what do you want me to know right now about this writing project? What do you want me to know right now? Or what step do you want me to take? What's my next step? So just allow whatever space you need for that. And if you have an answer, we can move on to another question. But if you don't, you're welcome to just sit with that some more. And now for those who are ready for a next step, your muse has a gift for you. So go ahead and receive that gift. If it needs to be unwrapped, you can unwrap it. And if you have no idea why your muse just gave you this particular gift, feel free to ask. Wow, what is this gift? Or what is this gift for? What should I do with this gift? Receive your answer from your muse. Whenever you feel complete, you can thank your muse. And you can take this gift with you, and you can exit the way you came into the clearing and the woods and the meadow. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
That was lovely.
Oh, good.
I'm so glad we did that.
I'd love to hear from people. I don't know if on your blog people could let us know, or if there's a place
Sure.
where people can let us know what kind of experiences they had, but it'd be sort of fun I'd love to hear what your experience was.
Oh, well, I walked into a building expecting to see a certain person, and it wasn't. It was this unknown woman. And the gift, which really surprised me, was this beautifully wrapped package. And when I opened it, it was this sheaf of blank pages. And it seemed like I had the message that I had many books to write.
Wow, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I think part of what happens often is, there's the part that our mind loves, like, oh, this was, lovely, but then there's this part where we really do get some gift. It might not be tangible, but we really receive something energetically, I think, often. When people are going to their muse with doubts or fears, they can experience an internal shift that happens, when we do that call. And I think similarly, like when you receive that gift of the blank pages, it's almost like energetically you're receiving some of the energy of these books already. I don't know if you experience that, but sometimes we find that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was surprising,
Yeah.
but fun. That was really, I'm so glad we did that, Lisa.
Oh, good.
So once people are in the zone, how do they stay in that writing zone and not lose that sense, that feeling, or that ability to write at such a greater level?
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
I think really just like take dictation, just write and don't try to edit. Once we get into that editing mind, we're in a different space. So just go with it, write, you can
Yeah,
edit later. And as I said before, then if you feel a little stuck, it may just be time to take a break. Your body may need to move, and that may move some energy, and then more will come. You may even need a walk. And sometimes you'll start to get a sense of your own rhythm of, I can write for about an hour, and then I need to walk, and then come back. So you might
that's
find
right.
particular rhythm that works for you.
And so, when we read books, we identify a voice. Each book has a certain voice in it. But
Mhm.
how do we get to the point of finding that voice to express in words?
So, one way I like to do it, and of course, my authors are mostly writing nonfiction, self-help, how-to, sometimes memoir. So I love to have them picture their reader and really picture, they do an exercise where they imagine the reader before the book and after the book. And really thinking about sort of where are they and what are they thinking and feeling and what's going on around them. But if you get a really solid picture of your reader, whether it's somebody you actually know, a real person, or somebody made up in your head, you can picture that person every time you sit down to write. And you could really do it with fiction too, where you're telling them that story, you're writing to them. It's like a conversation. And I think when you do that, the writing naturally is more conversational, more relaxed, and you tend to discover your voice because you're not trying to write a certain way. You're communicating. It's as if you're talking to that person. For some people who are speakers and are much more comfortable speaking, I sometimes suggest they could even have a solid outline, but then speak their book and record it. And that's a good starting place. It's not going to give you a
Oh,
solid draft, but it would give you something you could then edit. Um, Most of the people on this call probably are writers, so I think for them it would be more just writing, but with that reader in mind. It can take you out of yourself too. I think when we're thinking of, I want to be witty, I want to be funny, I want to, be brilliant, then, the ego starts to get involved. And really our job as writers is to let the ego get out of the way so the true, soul can speak, right? Even if we're writing a very business book, right? We want to speak from that place of heart. We certainly want to bring in all the things we know. We want to use our intellect in the book, but we want, the intellect shouldn't be driving the whole thing. It's important to connect with that deeper knowing. And so when we imagine that reader, it's a way also to sort of remember we're here to serve, and here's this person, this is, imagining person we're serving. And I think that helps to write from that place where it's really our authentic voice. Um, and sometimes especially with how to and self-help books, I'll see people will say, many of you, or an author will write in their first draft, many of you. And when you're seeing your readers as this like mass, and you're up on the podium speaking to them, like that, I think gets in the way of finding that authentic voice. The other big thing, is just using all the senses, not all at once, but, bringing in all the senses, whether it's for a novel or for an anecdote in a self-help book. When we bring in all the senses and these quirky details, right, very specific details, and ground things in a specific day, a specific time, a specific place, it makes it really real. And then our voice comes through, I think, also powerfully when we're writing from those specifics. I think the more specific we can be, one problem I sometimes see in writing is where the author is sort of generic and saying like, this is what happens to me, and this is, it's sort of a general kind of thing. And the voice usually isn't there when we're writing at that level. So it's sometimes it's a process, dig a little deeper, and each iteration we get more close to that authentic voice.
Well, those are good ideas. So I know that you have productivity tips as well that you share with your clients, and I was wondering if you could share them with us today.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. The biggest one, because in my book writing class and my book proposal class, the goal in the book writing class is in 8 to 12 weeks, write a first draft of your book or a first draft with holes. And in the book proposal class, we're actually doing that in as little as 4 weeks. So that's a pretty protracted time. And the only way that's going to happen is if the writing gets scheduled in. So it's, scheduled very specific times, and it's not Saturday morning, but it's Saturday from 9 to 12, and then I'm going to, go for a walk and then write again from 2 to 4. So very specific times, and treating it sacred, this is sacred time, and if something comes up and you really want to go there, ask yourself first, how would this impact my book? How would this impact my writing project? And then if you still, say, okay, well, it'll put me back, but I think I can reschedule that time, reschedule it immediately. Don't wait till later, but when you say yes to this other thing, you've got to reschedule the writing time. Another thing we sometimes do is if I work with a lot of doctors and therapists, and sometimes the doctors are on call and they really don't know completely what their schedule will be. So for them, I often say, well, excuse me, I'm going to need a little water. Schedule an extra 4 hours. If you want to write 10 hours this week, schedule 14, so that if something does come up that's out of your control, like you're on call, then you can still meet your goal. And it's so empowering to meet that goal. So it's very different from, well, I'll schedule 10 hours and I might not meet it all. But so that's the tip that I really like. Sometimes we go to bed an hour earlier and wake up an hour earlier. That can be a really nice way to, start with the book when you're still in that dreamy space, which can also be conducive to creative flow. So those are a few tips.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I thought of two more. Another one is if you're interviewing people for your book or doing a lot of research, sometimes it's easier to, especially if it's nonfiction, write from what you know. Write all the easy parts or the parts that you can write without doing research, and then leave these, leave a box and just say, come back to research on X. And that way you can write the book fast and then do the more painstaking work, but it feels so powerful to be like, wow, I have most of my 12 chapters. Now I'm just going to go back and fill in these other parts, which tend to be more time consuming. And you could do that with interviews too. If you're going to be interviewing people, is write the book from what you know and then go back and do those interviews, unless they're really required, for the book. And another piece is write the easy parts first. If you feel you sit down, you thought you were going to write chapter 3, but all these ideas are flowing for chapter 7, go where the energy is. Go, write that easy part, and then come back to this part that's a little more challenging. And that sense of flow too might really cross over, so that once you're flowing with that, you can come back to this.
Those are great tips. I like the tip about treating your writing time as sacred and putting it on the calendar, and then writing the easy parts fast. First. That's going to go more quickly. Then you have a greater feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
I like those. So I know that you're an author coach, and I just would like to hear about how, as an author coach, you help people.
So it varies. But, one way is through teaching classes. So I have a class, Bring Your Book to Life, and that's really for nonfiction. But people get a lot of one-on-one with me in that program. I teach it once a year, and in the midst of it right now. And then after that, I'm going to be teaching Fast Track Your Book Proposal. So another program, and people get a lot of course materials, sort of help them guide their process, and then we have these very interactive calls where I find they're so rich. It's a really rich learning environment because I can put people in pairs and give them an exercise, and then we come back to the bigger group. So it's a really wonderful technology that allows it to be more like a live workshop. And then I also do some private coaching. I do a lot of book proposal work, and some of that depends on my schedule. If I'm teaching a program, I don't do as much of this separate work. But those are some ways. And sometimes, people email me and there's really a sense they just need a breakthrough. They need one call to break through this block. And so we do I keep hitting that. I'm going to have to, I've just gotten a new desktop that goes up and down so I can stand, but I've got to redesign this for when I do the calls. Where were we? Oh, writing in the zone. Yeah, so we'll do that meet your muse exercise, and sometimes that's all people need to move forward, so sometimes we'll do that. And I also love when people are in that initial phase with that, what is my book concept? And I love to sort of work with, what's their vision and where do they want to go with this? And then, what's also marketable and what might make it most marketable and help them really reach more people with this book. So that's always fun for me, is helping people figure out what is their book. And sometimes I do, just that initial book concept consultation to help people get really clear what their book is. And then I also have some programs online, some self-study, like Quick Start to Kickstart Your Book, that helps people with that question too.
That's awesome. So tell everyone how they can get a hold of you if they'd love to do that.
Great. So they can email me, lisa@lisatenner.com. It's LISATENER.com. And I do have a website, lisatenner.com, and we have Inspired Author Support Kit, which focuses more on nonfiction, but fiction writers will find some things for them in that too that are really fun, I think. It's got some lessons, and it also has something to create your vision statement and permission from your muse if you need that. And then I have a book quiz, so you can take the book quiz, and that, I'm not sure if you can get to that from trying to remember if we added it to the homepage, but if you go to lisatenner.com/the-book-quiz, you'll see the book quiz, and that's to help you assess sort of, are you ready to write your book, and what are your next steps, based on the answers you give, kind of looking at 3 different areas, and assessing where you are, where you're ready and where you maybe need some work to get that book going.
That's awesome. So thank everyone for being here with us today, and thank you, Lisa, for being here and for leading us on that wonderful visualization. I enjoyed it so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, if people want to share what happened with their muse, I'm working on a book about this, and if people want to share about what their muse said or did or any surprises, feel free to email me and let me know, or I guess they could, is this going to be something on your site where they could write comments and share?
Right. It'll be on my blog.
Great. It'll be on the blog. So people can write comments there too, which would be really fun. So thanks. Yeah. Thanks for this opportunity, and it was really fun.
Well, thank you. And I will see everyone else next month. Thanks.